the priority really is just keep our customers connected, keep them running, keep our employees safe, make sure they're getting paid so we can navigate through this together.
Welcome to episode 400 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. This is Jess Delfiaco, the Communications Manager. We've interviewed Travis Carter several times before, but never in the middle of a pandemic. Travis is the CEO of US Internet, a locally owned internet access company here in Minneapolis. Travis intends to build out the USI fiber optic network across the city, and while the coronavirus may have slowed down construction, it hasn't interrupted service for subscribers. In this interview, Travis and Christopher discuss what it's like operating his company during a national crisis, and while social distancing impacts operations. He also talks about how, as more people are working from home and schools are shut down, traffic is impacting demands on the network. Now here's Christopher talking with Travis Carter from US Internet.
Welcome to another episode of the Community Broadband Bits podcast.
Woot woot.
I'm here with Travis Carter in his office at the U.S. Internet World Headquarters.
Yeah.
Do you call this Minneapolis? I mean, you're not in Minneapolis.
Yeah, because nobody ever knows where Minnetonka, Minnesota is.
Right. So we are recording what will become episode 400.
I missed 300, but now I got 400.
That's right.
Well done.
And just so you know, so Lisa Gonzalez, the person who's edited more than 400 of these podcasts, who's done an immeasurable amount of work, she was supposed to be 400. But this is
sorry.
It's too topical, and Lisa understands that. Once again, I'll just be
sorry, Lisa.
her.
You could have, how about 500 for her? Huh? Or is
yes.
That
well,
then she's committed for 2 more years.
Well, she's leaving.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess you didn't see the news.
No. Sorry, Lisa. Now I feel bad.
Yes. Actually, as we're talking, today was her last day. And so if people want to see what happens when a rock leaves an office. But Travis, you and I we can barely see each other. We're sitting so far apart in your office.
We're socially distanced correctly, I believe.
Right, and I don't say that to make fun of it. It is important.
Yes.
And your office is pretty much empty. But I wanted to talk about what it's like to be running a company right now. So we're going to talk about a number of other things, including your motorhome extravaganza adventure.
Cool.
On mobile wireless. But let's just start over this. So what is happening with USI right now that is different than it would normally be in the middle of March?
Well, as you can see, looking around the office, all the doors are shut. There's nobody here. Fortunately for us, being in the internet business, we have a pretty good set of systems and resources. So most of our folks are working from home. We do have 1 or 2 people that are working in our data center just to make sure that that's secure and people are able to come in and out. And we do have a small skeleton staff of people working in the field doing break fix on our network to keep things up and running. Otherwise, the vast majority of them are working from home. We're using Google Hangouts. We're using our voice over IP system to have daily calls, monitoring the news, and just trying to make sure everyone's happy and healthy.
Now, even your customer service representatives, they don't have to be here.
Correct. The vast majority of them are at home, and they're able to VPN in, get on the voice over IP system, and do their job and be connected to all the resources remotely.
Do you have people who would ordinarily be working who are not working right now?
Yep. So when a new home or a new business signs up, we actually deploy people out there to run fiber cables or devices inside of the homes. Those people are on hiatus right now. And
so as a small business owner, I'm just curious. I mean, how do you deal with that? In terms of just not knowing when you can bring them back and what you can do for them?
Well, the commitment that I've made to our people is they're going to continue to be getting paid. They're going to continue to get all of their benefits as long as we possibly can, which in our game or in our business, I'm anticipating, depending, it moves day to day, but it should be till the end of this pandemic. So I've really tried to reinforce with our staff and our people that we're here for them. And we're not doing like, unfortunately, a lot of other people had to do layoffs and things like that. They're here, and we're going to utilize their abilities as needed to keep things going for our customers.
So the savage irony is that last year at this time, we weren't even close to being done with snow. The ground was frozen. I can only imagine you looking out the window and seeing this Minnesota where we appear to be having an early spring, where if we didn't have a pandemic, you'd probably be getting pretty busy pretty soon.
Yeah, we've waited for this year for 4 years, right? In Minnesota, we have the 4 seasons, as we like to talk about. So we've been waiting for an early spring, and it shut us basically right down about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, we would be out and running in full force. The good news is a traditional construction year for us starts April 15th. So depending on, what is today, the 20th of March, depending on what happens. Now, this is a volatile situation and changes every day. So maybe by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be different. But as of right now, if the 14 days or 21 days people are talking about, we maybe won't miss much of the season.
Right, that's certainly a best case scenario.
Best case for us. But for us, that's not really the priority right now. The priority really is just keep our customers connected, keep them running, keep our employees safe, make sure they're getting paid so we can navigate through this together.
I'm curious. I mean, the other savage irony, we got multiple ones here, is that at a time in which you can't really install new customers, what is the demand for your services looking like?
It's at an all-time high. It's 3 to 4 times our normal onloading of customers. Now, fortunately for us, we've got a tremendous amount of apartment buildings, or what we affectionately call MDUs, multi-dwelling units, already pre-wired. So the vast majority of people can just plug into the jack, and they're on. And so we've had real big uptake in our MDU customer base. But single-family homes are through the roof as well, and a lot of them are disappointed that we're not going to be able to get them hooked up right away. But I'm sorry, I'm not. It's not worth the bigger risk right now. We will happily hook you up when this is behind us.
What does the demand of your existing customers look like?
The way we always do our network design is for Sunday night and Monday night. Okay, these are the busiest times for internet traffic, streaming, peering, all the different types of stuff that we have. And so the average day now looks like a Sunday night. So if you take our network and you break it into the core network, and these are the pieces that connect to Netflix and all the different types of services, we try to run at about a 10% utilization. So we're sitting there about 10% utilized during the day, where normally it would be much lower than that. So if you think of every day now as Sunday night prior to this, that's really where we're sitting.
So one of the things that then we're seeing elsewhere is that the peaks are getting higher both during the day and during the night.
Yeah, so our big peaks historically were always the Super Bowl, Academy Awards.
Right, you talked about Game of Thrones.
Well, that's the super peak. That's the Mount Everest of our business, is the Game of Thrones denial of service, when that came out. This is nothing near that. When people talk about working from home, our Netflix, Hulu, YouTube servers are pretty busy during the day now. So I think a lot of people that aren't working or, are taking that opportunity to maybe catch up on their streaming content.
I think we're about to we decided, my wife and I, to pull Jackson out of daycare. And anticipating daycares will soon be closed anyway here in the state of Minnesota. And so I can tell you that probably you'll see more streaming. I mean, I'm not one of your customers yet, unfortunately. But for Comcast, they would see that probably there's going to be more streaming in my house during the day, even if I'm working.
Yeah, streaming. Streaming is huge right now. VPN traffic, obviously big for people working from home. And again, for us, it's just focusing on keeping things running.
And I'm hearing that some people, non-technical people especially, might be a little frustrated with Zoom not working as well. Although I think Zoom has been one of the ones that works the best. Some of the other often proprietary video conferencing solutions may not be working as well. That's not because of the IP layer, right?
No. I think it's their server stack is. Let's be honest, who would have thought about this? If you and I were running around talking about a national pandemic that was going to effectively shut the country down, we'd be kind of considered one of those fringe people, right?
Right. Imagine going to a CEO and saying, I want you to spend 20% more in this area on the off chance that we suddenly have a doubling of demand.
Exactly. So what we did is when this started is we started to load up on spares. A lot of compute power, a lot of fiber power, a lot of switch power. So in the event, A, if we have failures, and B, if we get into capacity constraints, we're gonna be able to just take it from local inventory versus trying to ship it in from a vendor who may not be open at that time. So yeah, but you're 100% correct. If we would have been running around saying we need 50% more compute capacity just to sit here, we would have never got that approved by anyone.
Mm-hmm. What's happening with your wireless network?
So we made a decision early on that our wireless network is made up of 2,500 wireless access points in the city of Minneapolis that we would, previously you had have to log in, give your name, a credit card number, just so that we knew who you were. You know, it was a way to kind of track it. It was an early method for kind of trying to track people for, if there's some bad actors out there. Well, what we did now is we just opened it up so that it operates like a Starbucks or a hotel and just let people use it if they needed to use it. So as of this morning, there was about 7,300 connections onto the free public Wi-Fi network in the city of Minneapolis.
And that was an idea that the city had also come up with independently while...
Yeah, it was kind of ironic. We were working on it internally on how we're going to do it, and then the city called and said, hey, would you guys consider it? And we're like, well, ironically, so did they come up with it first or us? I don't know. We all kind of came up with it together, and we enabled that last Monday. This is now Friday, so it would just been a few days ago, and you can see a steady increase in the number of people that are connected to it.
Now, when the city calls you and you pick up the phone, does it speak with a computerized voice?
Oh, no. Nice people down there, trying to do best, and they're just like, hey, can you help? And I'm like, of course we can help.
Right.
And
no, I was just trying to make a joke, and obviously it went over very well.
The big government, yeah. This is the government calling. Right. No, they're just people like you and me, and they're dealing. We're just trying to deal with the technology that I can't imagine what they're dealing with.
What are some of the challenges that you foresee with throwing open a 2,600 node wireless network with expectations people might have when they see that on the news?
Yeah, and that's some of the things that we're working through now is the expectation. So you got to imagine when we put this wireless network out, like cell phones and tablets really didn't exist.
Right, 2007, 2008.
Yeah, so now we're sitting here with a scenario. In the early days, you would need to have a client device that we would connect to your home, and then we would run a cable into your house, and we'd put a router in your house, and you would use the wireless network to connect from your home to the pole or the node, and then you would connect Wi-Fi inside your home. Okay, that's the model we've been using for the last 12, 13 years. Now you have people that are turning their phones on and they're looking for the SSID and trying to connect from the bowels of their home and going, why isn't it working? Mm-hmm. So we have a little bit of education that we need to do, and that's kind of the process we're going through right now is Wi-Fi. These are the same phones that could barely connect from your garage to your kitchen, right? And now you're trying to go 1,000 feet down to the corner. It's just physically, there's not enough power there to make it happen.
Well, it feels like we're reliving the experience of 15 years ago with the expectation that a device on the other side of the block is somehow going to be able to give you a robust connection within your home.
Well, what's interesting, though, and I haven't been able to really put my thumb on it, is these phones have cellular service. So why wouldn't somebody just continue to use their cellular service?
Well, we can talk about that in a minute.
Yes. So it's kind of like, okay, I understand the Wi-Fi is free, and I would love people to use it, and a lot of people are using it. But if you're in a stucco home that has, effectively a Faraday cage in there, so you've got your little cell phone that purposely doesn't transmit at a high power because it's a battery, and all these technical things, but in this time, people don't want to hear that. They just want to know why.
Right.
Yep. So, and again, it's not an excuse. It's just the way the technology works.
You started an experiment recently in terms of lowering the price in some of the low-income areas that you're serving with some of the buildings that have all low-income households.
Correct. Yeah, we have a fair number of units that are wired, ready to go with high-speed internet, and we were having a very minimal uptake in these buildings. And I was trying to I like to work from data. not emotion. So where was the hurdle? Was the hurdle price? Was the hurdle demand? Were most people using their cell phones? What was it? So we started with the very first one is price. So we lowered our price in half.
So a typical price for anyone in the city would be $50.
$50, right? Yeah. $50 gives you 300 megabit up and down. So now we're going to say it's $25, 300 megabit up and down. So we created a marketing piece. We worked with a management company, and we offered that service 2 months ago now. And so far, we have 0 people.
0?
Yeah.
I was expecting some number.
Nothing. Okay, so now we know $25 isn't the right number. If it's just price.
It's fascinating because, what I would expect is that moving from 50 to 25 may not result in everyone signing up. But that you would have moved past the threshold for some group of people.
And again, we're just trying, we're trying to quantify some data here. So now we're at 0 new subscribers. The 13 subscribers we had, they're still there, and off they go. So now the question is, prior to this whole COVID issue, do we now lower the price?
COVID was an old...
COVID. Yeah, do we now...
I think COVID, wasn't that a company?
Old telco company. That's why I have that in my head, yeah. So now do we lower the price again? Okay, and so, again, trying to determine what type of demand there is for... And is it, again, maybe people aren't interested... See, this is what's ironic for me, because you and I live in this technology game, and I couldn't go 10 minutes without being on the internet. But there's a whole set of society that doesn't, I talk about this on your podcast every time. We still have like 1,200 dial-up customers, like modems, and all your millennials on here are like, what?
Right, like who's even repairing those?
Go on YouTube and search for modem and listen to
those devices are well above their mean time between failure.
Well, exactly. again, good job, manufacturers.
USR really did their job.
Exactly. But the key here is my demand for connectivity, your demand for connectivity is very different than maybe somebody else's demand for connectivity. And so, again, we're just trying to get to the source.
Although, I can imagine people who work in digital inclusion maybe pulling their hair out a little bit because there is no one way to describe this population. We're talking about millions of people at the end of the day.
Yep.
And so there's certainly some of them who don't subscribe for that reason. For a lot of people, the data does suggest it's price motivated.
Yep.
But at the same time, we don't have a lot of experiments with this.
And that's why I thought we used this, I think it's 500 units is our sample size. We're just using this as our kind of our petri dish to figure out the right thing.
Right, and you have signs up.
Oh, yeah.
And
direct mail, signs, the property managers notifying them. So there's no misunderstanding on what it is.
Well, and that's why I'm really curious, and I think this is where I hope we'll see more research. In terms of whether there's for instance, there's a group here in Minneapolis called CTEP, which I cannot remember exactly. They're involved with AmeriCorps. They've been trying to work on digital divide issues for a lot of years. And it would be interesting if they spent some time, for instance, just going door to door and interviewing people to be like, did you know this was available?
Yeah, exactly.
How come you're not using it?
Well, and that's kind of maybe one of the next steps is to grab some of that data. My current thought is the next step is, so one thing we've changed, and we've just changed it since the beginning of the year, is we've started to promote television service through our internet product via YouTube TV. So it started out a little, slow, but we've just now added it to our order form. It's unbelievable the number of people that are interested in television.
Across your whole market.
Across all of our new customers. So what we're doing now is I'm thinking, let's go back to this area, our pilot project, reintroduce it at a low price with a television component attached to it, and use that as our second data point. So we have price alone, internet only. Now we'll have price alone plus TV, and we'll start continuing to ratchet ourselves. I'd love to get to the end of the exercise and go, this resonates with certain people, and this is what it is, and then it's duplicatable.
Another common challenge for people is devices, but you have a relationship with PCs for People.
Correct. Yeah, them and the Gadget Guy. There's a bunch of people that we have worked with to help people with technology, because you're spot on. I don't even know if most of these people have computers. I don't, And again, I hate to say these people. It's just this group.
Right.
This group of people that it's either price or demand or entertainment. I don't know what it is yet.
Right. I mean, one of the things I was going to say was, I mean, I'm so staggered at 0 new signups, was that in some ways your experiment has the pandemic falling right in the middle of it could have totally corrupted it, because you may see sudden new demand because of the people being quarantined.
Yep.
But it's it's 0 at 0.
Yeah, exactly. Now, again, my data's 4 or 5 days old, so we could reconvene, say, in another few weeks and see. But it was not very promising price only.
So this is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit, is how do you as a private company figure out how to connect the entire city?
Correct.
And one of the things that I've said that is that I would like to see the city doing more. And I know that you have your own conversations with the city, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth. But looking at it from a perspective of a private company, you as an ego point of view, you want to be in front of every address in Minneapolis.
Correct.
That's important to you.
Yeah, that's a career goal.
Sure.
I'd love at the end of my career to go, yep, the place I grew up with and where I went to school and all my friends live, yep, we did that.
Now, the challenge is that on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis where there's demand, you're using the proxy of your wireless service. Because
Correct,
you've had wireless everywhere for 12 years. You have a sense of some neighborhoods take much more of it than other neighborhoods.
Correct. And so the challenge for us is appeasing the financial institutions that we borrow money from. We have to be able to make the bank covenants work. And so you have 2 ways of doing that. I can continue to raise the price on our current customers to feed in areas that I feel are less demand, or I can figure out why there is less demand. And that's where we're using these apartment buildings that have historically low uptake, because I feel if we can figure out the right formula there, and if it's a price, entertainment, maybe a technology component, whatever that ends up being, because remember, an apartment building in my mind is no different than a series of homes. It's it's how do we crack the demand and desire element? That's what we're working on now. So if we can get that figured out in this pilot project, I think that will apply to everywhere in the city. And then I affectionately have been calling them internet opportunity zones, right? So this is an area here that we don't see as much uptake, but we have a rationale based on our pilot project, again, pre-pandemic, of this is the products and service we should put into that opportunity area, and then we have to figure out how to finance it. So maybe there's an opportunity to work with the city. They're always open to ideas. I don't know what they can or can't do, but they're at least open to having ideas. Maybe I can find some other funds. Maybe the Minnesota Broadband grant would stop not allowing us to participate.
Right, because it's targeted at rural areas.
It's targeted at rural areas, which is fair. I totally get it.
Well, it's fair in the sense that Comcast convinced the legislature to write it in a certain direction.
But, I would love to be able to go to them and say, hey, you know what, how about I put up 50% and I get a 50% grant, and then I can make the math work everywhere. So, again, there's a solution here, and we're as long as I'm sitting in this chair, we're going to finish Minneapolis. Okay? It's just how we're going to get there. I just need to be non-emotional along the way, and whatever people think or call me names or whatever the case may be, we're going to figure it out.
Are people calling you a Trekkie again?
Yeah, they call me a nerd, but I'm okay with that. So,
I was having a conversation with someone in Minneapolis, and I mentioned to them that, and I think this is worth repeating, that from your point of view, it's not a game. Let's just say for a second, SpaceX could turn out to be something with their Starlink in which they would suddenly take 30% of the market. They're not going to, and they're not even trying to do that. But we fundamentally don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. You have loans you have to pay back.
Yep.
And people have this sense like, oh, I'm sure you're just an LLC, and at the end of the day, the worst thing that happens to you is you lose your business.
Well, since I'm personally guaranteed on all this, I lose everything.
And that's what I wanted to mention.
I have absolutely nothing at the end of the year. And sadly, I'm not qualified to do anything else. My backup plan was to work as a greeter at Walmart, and I heard they got rid of them. So It's like that's all I had. So I have got to make this work.
Right, and the point I think is people have a misunderstanding. They think that you could go to a bank and say, I want you to loan money to this limited liability corporation. And then if it doesn't work out, hey, too bad. You don't get paid back, and I'm going to go take the money I made, and I'm going to go live in the Caribbean.
Again, that is, if you've never been in business, if you've never been an entrepreneur, I can understand why you might think that, but that's not the way it really works. Banks are in the business of being paid back. And there's no misunderstanding at the bank that if you've got to be able to pay them back.
Yeah,
okay? They don't take risks for public good or whatever you want to, how you want to refer to it. They look at you and go, all right, what are the odds of us getting paid back? And like I always tell my bank, the odds are 100% because I work day, nights, and weekends to make sure that this is going. But I would challenge you on one thing, though. Mm-hmm. Technically, I feel we do know where we're going. And I'll put my name and reputation on this. Wireless will never replace fiber. So the deeper we can get fiber into the neighborhoods, the better off the citizens will be and the users of the network. And I'm 50 years old. I'll be happy to sit here in 40 years and have this conversation with you again.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, but there's a couple of assumptions you're making. One is that you're going to have a company offering a very good value proposition. Now, Comcast cable offers, and some people might be falling off their chairs when I say this, a pretty good value proposition in a number of areas. They offer pretty fast connections, and I'm saying that relative to a company like Mediacom or CenturyLink.
Sure, fair enough, yeah.
Or something like that.
And honestly, they do a pretty good job.
Right, and so, but with their prices and whatnot, there's always going to be an opportunity to compete against them. And to some extent, you've certainly done well competing against them with fiber. But if you look in Boston with NetBlazer or Starry, two ISPs that are doing quite well, also competing against Comcast with wireless. I think if Comcast switched to an all-fiber infrastructure, those wireless companies would still be doing pretty well because there's a couple of other variables that are also important.
Well, and I'll agree with you that I think what you're seeing, the shift in the ISP world it used to be speed. Mm-hmm. It's now how reliable are you? Mm-hmm. Even the conversation I was having this morning, speed wasn't even a conversation. It was how many nines of uptime do you have? Mm-hmm. Because people expect the internet to be there now because they're using it for so many parts of their life. And honestly, with VPN traffic and all that, that's really low bandwidth utilization. So it's hard to even see a big uptick from people working from home like VPN'd in for doing email and group chats. Mm-hmm. When we get into situations of streaming and all that, that's where the consumption really is. And so, when you grow up your whole life and TV just works, and now you put them on an internet streaming platform, to them it's still TV. Why wouldn't it work? It's one of the challenges we had with voice over IP. The phone companies did such a good job with landlines.
Yeah.
My landline worked my entire youth.
Right.
Never once was it not there.
Yeah, people don't even appreciate it. I think you could literally have a tornado that would rip apart the electric system.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that every telephone worked, but there was a lot of them that still worked.
My water always comes out of the pipe. Mm-hmm. I don't know how. I mean, I haven't really dug into how it works, but it's always there. And that's what Internet's becoming.
Well, and it's hilarious because most people don't know how that happens because if they knew how it happened, they wouldn't go buy a ton of it before a pandemic because water is one of the things we're not going to run out of.
Yeah, you know what? When you and I don't know, when you were growing up, when I was growing up, I drank water out of the faucet.
I still do.
Yeah, so exactly.
I put ice cubes in it, though.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not sure that we're ever going to run out of that. So, no, I think that the key here is that it's all about reliability. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that now when my friends are calling me up and saying my VPN's dropping like crazy. I'm buffering in Netflix, not on our network, but on somebody else's network. It has nothing to do with the speed conversation.
Right.
And I think that's a key thing.
Right, and I think people take it for granted now. They think it's going to be fast enough in urban areas in particular that they've stopped. It's not a differentiator anymore. They assume that part.
Correct.
And they're looking for the reliability. So I want to end by talking about your great vacation. No one can see the slides, but
I had this harebrained idea. I hadn't really had a vacation in years, and so I decided I'm going to go on a vacation, and I decided to do it the way our ancestors did, except not in horse and buggy. I got a motor home, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now here's the challenge. I'm an internet addict, and I admitted, what am I going to do? So I'm going to give the cellular companies an opportunity now. Mm-hmm. So I went out and got a LTE router and a couple SIM cards, and on the road we went.
Did you go crazy with T-Mobile?
I went with that
5G?
T-Mobile Blast thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 5G. Yeah, that that there's no 5G, right? That's a hell of a marketing. Anyway, so I got the T-Mobile Blast thing, I got the Verizon thing, and down the road we go. Well, about 4 days into it, it worked okay. If you had good coverage, and, I'm using the signal meter. You got to be a dang IT scientist to make this work. But anyways, on day 5, it all stopped. So I call back to the office. I'm like, hey, my cellular thing isn't working well. Oh, you're over your data limit. I'm like, huh? Data limit? 20 gig or something in like 2.5 days. Well, then you get more and more and more. I think I ended up spending $300 on data through this whole thing. And you know what I ended up using most of the time? Is I'd go find somebody's Wi-Fi hotspot at a Starbucks or at a McDonald's. Because, and I will say this, and we'll put this in the podcast for all time, there is a 0% chance cellular takes over being everyone's internet provider. It's terrible.
Well, even the 5G, I mean, they talk about how great it is, and they fully expect I think 4/5 of it, 80%ish to be offloaded on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So then I did this little experiment because they talk about how, well, if the cellular tower is overloaded, are we going to rate limit you? So I was on the outskirts of Abilene, Texas or something, or Amarillo, Texas, right? And I went out in the middle of nowhere. There was me and cows. I was getting rate limited like crazy. So anyways, I'm just saying that this was my whole thing. This is why cellular companies, Starlink, all these they're all wireless at the end of the day, will never compete on what we're putting in. You put in a fiber connection to somebody's house, you give them a high-quality Wi-Fi connection. Even now with Wi-Fi 6 coming out is the biggest evolution in Wi-Fi, and it might be something you want to talk about in a future podcast. Game changer. FCC opening up the 6 gigahertz band, game changer. So I would challenge you to say, yeah, we know what the next 10 years is going to be, and unless they invent something faster than light, I think we're okay. So I'm okay with personally guaranteeing tremendous debt to build this out, because I think it's the right thing to do. And even in this pandemic, you can see there's zero impact on the network. Everyone's working, everyone's enjoying the content. We just need to get through this together.
That's a great way to end it. I was trying to decide if I should go anywhere else, but I feel like that's a good place to end.
Is that episode 400?
Episode 400.
In the bag, huh?
All right. Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa.
Lisa will be on next week with a conversation that we recorded as her goodbye. It's tragic to work with someone for 8 great years and then not even have a chance to see her, as she leaves out, as she moves on to another job. But
congratulations for her. And can I call dibs on episode 500 then?
You could try. Yeah, it'll be 2 years from now.
Thanks, Chris. Well done.
Hopefully we'll be maybe do it in a bar that actually has people.
Well, yeah, because I haven't seen anyone for days. So it was nice for you to come over today. You're my first human interaction in almost a week. So thank you.
That was Christopher talking with Travis Carter, CEO of US Internet, a local Minneapolis-based ISP. Check out other conversations with Travis in episodes 359, 301, and 194. We have transcripts for this and other podcasts available at MuniNetworks.org/broadbandbits. Email us at podcast@MuniNetworks.org with your ideas for the show. Follow Chris on Twitter. His handle is @CommunityNets. Follow MuniNetworks.org stories on Twitter. The handle is @MuniNetworks. Subscribe to this podcast and the other podcasts from ILSR, Building Local Power, Composting for Community, and the Local Energy Rules podcast. You can access them anywhere you get your podcasts. You can catch the latest important research from all of our initiatives if you subscribe to our monthly newsletter at ilsr.org. While you're there, please take a moment to donate. Your support in any amount keeps us going. Thank you to Arne Huseby for the song Warm Duck Shuffle, licensed through Creative Commons. This was episode 400 of the Community Broadband Bits podcast. Thanks for listening.